everyone, welcome back to our channel and welcome to our mini-series on soap making for absolute beginners. I am Anne and along with my good friend Wayne we run the Sussex Handmade Soap Company and we've been uploading videos showing our soap making adventures to YouTube for about a year now. And one question that we find comes up fairly often is how to actually get started with soap making when you are an absolute beginner. And by that I mean you haven't even made your first loaf of soap. You are purely looking at where and how to begin and how to get started. So we thought we would create a mini series showing everything that you will need to know to actually enable you to make that first loaf of soap. Unlike our regular videos, which we release once a week, these videos are going to be released once a day. And they are going to run for probably about 7 or 8 days, and that's going to take you from the very beginning, equipment and things you're going to need to purchase, right through safety tips, ingredients tips, right up to actually creating your very first loaf of soap. And we'll be creating the first loaf of soap, I believe, around about day 5. Days 1 to 4 are going to be covering steps and things that you need to take account of and learn about before you can actually create your soap. And days 6 and 7 are going to be focused on taking your designs a little bit further. So we're going to be doing some layered designs and some swirl designs. And that is going to then be, say, a 8-day sort of mini series covering everything that you're going to need to know to be able to create that first loaf of soap. So today, day 1, we are going to start by covering equipment. We are going to cover all of the equipment that you're going to need. Bear in mind this is an absolute beginner's course, so we are going to try and keep it as cost effective as possible. There are a lot of things you will definitely need. There are some things that if you develop your hobby and take it a little bit further, you may want to buy in the future. I'm not going to include things that you might want to buy in the future because I am just going to try and keep it as cheap and as cost effective if you are just, say, testing the hobby for the first time. You will notice that there are a lot of items that you may already have around your house. The reason we have included these is that things like saucepans and spoons and jugs, once they've been used for soap making, you don't want to go back and use them for food again. So soap making utensils and cooking utensils have to be kept completely separate. You can't mix them and you can't, make spaghetti one night and then soap the next day and then switch to making potatoes or something like that. They've got to be kept for their purpose. So when you make your when you've got your soap making utensils, keep them for soap, keep them in a separate cupboard, have a dedicated area away from food storage where you keep your soap making utensils there. And that is why we have included things that you will need to purchase that you may think you've already got. So let's begin with showing you what we have got. And as we go along, I'm going to try and tell you where I bought the items from. If I can't remember, I will pop links into the description for everything. And I'm going to also flash up on the screen roughly what kind of price everything cost, because it's nice to be able to know what your craft is going to cost you before you've even thought about purchasing ingredients. So we're going to try and cover, where to buy things from to get the best value and how much these things actually cost. So let's begin with spoons, a very easy, simple one. You will want a spoon for decanting solid ingredients such as coconut oil. It will need to be a stainless steel spoon, because you do not want to use any metal other than stainless steel when you are soap making, because other metals can react with the lye. So a good stainless steel metal spoon is my number 1 recommendation. And I probably don't really have to tell you where to buy a spoon from. Go to your local supermarket, it's not going to be a lot of money. Get a separate soaping metal spoon. Next on my list is a stainless steel saucepan. And this one is, I don't know what sort of size this one is, but you can kind of see there. It needs to be a fairly large saucepan, because it needs to accommodate all of the soap batter that you're going to be making, and it needs to be able to be whizzed with the stick blender safely. And again, you need to make sure that you are buying a stainless steel saucepan, not a coated one, not an aluminium one, because they will react with the lye in your soap. So it needs to be a proper stainless steel saucepan. We bought ours from Asda. I think it was around about £10–15 or so. I will have a look and I shall pop the price up for you so you can see. So, a good saucepan. You will also need a couple of jugs. These are 3-litre jugs. You could probably get away with 2-litre ones, and you will want them to either be stainless steel or plastic. And if you choose plastic, which we have done because it is much more cost effective when you're starting out, you need to make sure that you are either using high density polyethylene or polypropylene. And the way that you can tell is if you turn the jug over, it will have a recycling code underneath it. And you need to make sure that that recycling code says either number 5, which is polypropylene, or number 2, which is high density polyethylene. And we will be covering in the videos over the coming days why you only want those kinds of plastic or stainless steel. You don't want glass and you don't want aluminium, and we will cover that in videos over the coming days. I say plastic jugs, definitely the way to go if you're a beginner, much cheaper than stainless steel, easy to pick up. Go to Wilko's, go to the pound store, go to your local supermarket, and they will probably have these jugs, and they will probably be between £1 and £2 each. You are then going to need a set of scales that will weigh to 0.1 grams. Because you are a beginner, I am going to presume that you're not going to be selling your soaps straight away, so we don't need trade approved scales, just a decent set that will weigh to 0.1 of a gram. I think these were from Argos, possibly online. It was either Argos or somewhere online. I shall find where we got these from, and I shall pop up how much they cost because I cannot remember off the top of my head, and I shall also, put in the description where we got these from. They are a nice, handy, little, easy, portable set, so yeah, pretty easy. And you may even have some weighing scales that go to 0.1 gram at home anyway. If you do, you can use them. You will then need just a simple bowl that you're going to weigh out your lye in before it is mixed with the water. Chances are you may already have just a bowl that you're not going to need for food in the future that you can use. If you don't, again, it's a supermarket job. It's a couple of quid in the supermarket for just a bowl for measuring lye into. Then you are going to need a spatula, at least one spatula. I'm only including one because it is the bare minimum that you can get away with. You might find it helpful to actually have a couple. But again, these are pound shop jobbies. They were £1 each. There is no need to spend more than £1 or so on a spatula. It has got a silicone head here, a wooden handle. If you can find one with a completely silicone handle, that might be even better, but it is a pound shop jobby. It's not going to break the bank, so buy a couple because you will find a good use for them. And then I recommend a long-handled spoon, a long-handled stainless steel spoon, which is exactly what this is, for stirring your lye into your water and dissolving it. I recommend a long handle because then your hand is further away from the actual lye water. We got these as a pack of 4 for £1 from, yes, you have guessed it, the pound shop. So again, nice and cheap. I mean, a lot of this soap making stuff is pound shop jobbies. You know, go and do a pound shop haul and you will get probably 50% of what you're actually going to need from the pound shop. It's great. Stainless steel long handle spoon. Next, you will want a blender. It is possible to make soap without a blender, but it is a lot of effort and your life will be greatly eased if you purchase a stick blender. Now you can get some very cheap stick blenders. Our very first stick blender cost us £5 from Argos. If you're not sure if you're even going to like this hobby and you literally want to make one batch of soap, then yeah, buy the $4.99 blender from Argos just to see if you like the hobby. If you have even the slightest thought that you are probably going to take it further and keep doing it, then I would recommend investing a little bit more money at the beginning to get a better stick blender, because our $4.99 blender lasted us for a few soaps and then it broke and the motor burnt out very, very quickly. This blender cost us £30, and it is more than adequate for what we need it to do. It works perfectly, and again you can get some around about £15 to £20 that work fairly well too. But I say don't spend more than £30 on a blender, because this, you know, has done us well. We have got a plastic shell on ours. You can get stainless steel blenders. We actually prefer the plastic one purely because the stainless steel one, we are worried that it would scratch the bottom of our bowl. So we're going plastic. If you want to go stainless steel, go stainless steel. It's personal preference, but just a blender of some kind. Now, where there is soap making, there is mess. So have a good supply of tea towels or old, you know, cloths, old rags that you can use to clean up mess. They will come in very, very handy. When it comes to washing them, wait a few days and then just wash them in your washing machine, because if you try and wash them straight after they're covered in, you know, soap batter, it's going to be greasy and oily and it's not going to be great for your plumbing. However, if you wait until that soap has saponified and turned into soap, pop them in your dishwasher. Don't pop them in your dishwasher, pop them in your washing machine, and they will wash nicely. So that is our tip for washing tea towels and rags and things that you use for cleaning up. You are also going to want, for things like fragrance and colour, some small measuring cups or ramekins. We tend to use these tiny little measuring cups for when we are measuring out colour, and we tend to use these larger ramekins for when we are measuring essential oils or fragrance oils. These little cups I believe we got from Resonate. I can't remember how much they were, but I shall have a look and I shall pop the price up. These little ramekins. Now, here is my tip. These ramekins are perfect for measuring fragrance oils or essential oils, and they are great at holding things like clays if you take your hobby a little bit further, or botanicals. They are very, very useful. Also, these are the pots that, is it GU or GU? Those yummy, yummy desserts that you can buy in the supermarkets. It's the G with the U with the umlaut above it. Yeah, delicious desserts. That's what these are from. So, instead of just going out and buying a load of ramekins, we wait until these desserts are on special offer at two for £2, and then we buy the desserts. And then we enjoy the desserts and we recycle these little ramekins that they come in for our soap making. So it's kind of like a double bonus, delicious dessert and a ramekin. Yay! That's my tip. But then a lot of my tips are focused around food because I like eating delicious things. What is also quite useful to have is just a couple of chopsticks. I find when I'm measuring essential oils that it is a lot easier and less messy if I'm using a chopstick against the bottle so the fragrance runs out nicely. And I also find that these are really good for mixing mica powders into oil with. So a couple of chopsticks would be helpful. Again, pick them up at the supermarket. I've had these for years. These got transferred from the food cupboard to the soap making cupboard and they have never looked back. You are then going to want a mould. Obviously, a mould is kind of crucial if we're soap making. Now you have a few choices for moulds. We purchased our mould actually from America from Two Wild Hairs, and I did that because I had very specific ideas about the size and shape of mould that I wanted. I wanted, you know, this specific mould. So we did pay more and we had it imported. There is no need to do that whatsoever. There are plenty of places in the UK that you can buy a relatively cheap soap mould from, and I shall link to some of them in the description. This is a 2.5 pound loaf mould, so you're wanting something roughly that sort of size if you're hoping to make the recipes that we shall be showing you later on in the week. So look for around about 2.5 pounds, or alternatively, you could use a cavity mould with lots of individual cavities for soap. Then you won't have to worry about cutting it or chopping it up afterwards either, which is, you know, time saving if nothing else. This mould, again, imported from America. I got it from Brambleberry. But again, you can purchase moulds like this in the UK. The other option, if you are really trying to save those pennies, is you can even recycle something like a juice carton or a milk carton to be a soap mould. Make sure it is thoroughly washed and cleaned, but you can chop the top off and actually use that as a mould. The soap, when it is finished, is not going to look as pristine as something that is moulded in a mould like this, but it's for you, it's for personal use, it's your first loaf of soap, and it doesn't matter if it's not pristine, it's still going to be perfectly usable soap, and you will have saved, oh, I don't know, £10–15 on the cost of a mould. And if you want your soaps to gel, and we're going to cover what gelling means later on down the road in our videos, we'll cover to gel or not to gel, but if you watch our videos and you decide you would like your soap to gel, you are going to want a shoebox. Let's hide that branding. No one can tell what it is now. you want a shoebox. A shoebox is a really easy way of gelling a soap, and it is used in conjunction with a towel. Woo! So yeah, a shoebox and towel if you decide at a later date that you do want to try and gel your soaps. You will also need, for the making process, a temperature gun. We have got this infrared one. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, got you. Am I going to blind them all? They won't be blinded through the screen, will they? You need a temperature gun. We use an infrared one. The ones that just get stuck in, you know, the non-infrared ones, I wouldn't really recommend using them. A probe. Don't use a probe one. Use an infrared one. We got ours from Amazon. I can't remember exactly how much it was. I shall pop the price and the link to this gun in the description for you. Genuinely not a clue how much it was. Possibly around about £15, or I might be inventing that. It was this much. And when you have made your first bar of soap and you are waiting to chop it up, if you have done it in a loaf mould and not a cavity mould, which will not require chopping, you're going to want a chopping board and a knife. Again, pound shop. I don't know if the pound shop sell knives, but you know, the supermarket definitely will. You're probably looking at, you know, a few quid. I don't know how much knives cost actually.
Don't get them from the pound shop.
Don't get them from the pound shop.
The handle will snap. It's just no. Spend a bit more on a knife. About 15 quid.
That's plus a bit much for a knife, isn't it?
That's a knife.
Cool. Well, there you go, guys. You heard that. Apparently, don't get your knives from the pound shop because the handle's split. That's not a very good review for the pound shop, is it? I love the pound shop, but you know, it's a knife and a chopping board for chopping your soap up. And lastly, though I don't know why they are last on my list, because they should have been first, because they are perhaps the most important part of all of this, is your safety equipment. You need goggles to protect your eyes. You can use goggles like this, or you can use goggles like this, which are a little bit safer because they cover your whole face. And if you fancy it, you could throw on a face shield as well. We are just trying to make sure that we are safe and that our eyes are completely protected from any soapy, lye splashes. Also, can't see a thing now with both of these on. Goggles, very, very important. Do not try and soap without them. You should be able to pick up goggles from a hardware store, somewhere like B&Q. Where did we get them from? It was that shop next to Pets at Home. I can't remember the name of it. Wix, was it Wix? It might have been Wix. But you know, it's a hardware store. They generally have goggles. They're DIY stores. Get some goggles. Also, get some gloves. These are the gloves I like to wear, just normal little latex gloves. Wayne prefers as these are Wayne's gloves. I'm not even lying. These are Wayne's ones. They are rubber gloves, and these are mine. If you're allergic to latex, what's the option? Are they nitrile gloves? Is that how you pronounce it? Something like that. But there are options if you are allergic to latex. But whichever choice you make, you need gloves. You also should be wearing old clothes, because you don't want to wreck your clothes, long sleeves and closed-toed shoes. So make sure you have got all of that to hand before you start your soap making. So, one more thing, just for when you're cutting your soap, a ruler, because it helps you to measure it out. You can do it by eye if you want to, but if you're like me and you want to be precise, have a ruler, because then you can actually measure out your soap. So that is our equipment list, and I know it sounds and looks like an awful lot of equipment, but I promise you, a trip round the pound shop and you will have half of this sorted, a trip round the supermarket and you will have another quarter sorted, and it's only the last sort of few items like scales and the blender that you might have to go further afield for. So it's a pretty easy list. And again, it's not a cheap hobby to start, soap making, but it's not super expensive. And I say you can go with cheap options for a lot of things if you are just starting. So that is our guide to equipment. Tomorrow we're going to be covering lye and lye safety and what lye is and how it works and things like that. So we're just going to be giving you the introduction to lye tomorrow. So come back for that video, and thank you for watching today's beginners soap making equipment video. Hopefully you found it a little bit useful. You can write down your shopping list now and, get ordering your soaping supplies so that in a few days' time you can make your first loaf with me. We shall see you then. Please do like and subscribe and follow our videos and our channel. Give us a comment if there's anything that you want to know, and we shall see you for our live video tomorrow. Bye!
See ya.